100 days of an unprecedented crisis, 100 days of an air, land and sea blockade, 100 days of families being forced apart and the stability of the Gulf Cooperation Council hanging in the balance. What many had hoped would be a brief crisis has now gone on for more than 3 months and threatens the future of the Gulf region. Qatar has maintained its willingness to sit down and discuss differences with its neighbors under Kuwaiti mediation. But Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Egypt and the United Arab Emirates insist that there will be no solution to the crisis unless Doha agrees to 13 demands. Well, it's been several weeks since those demands were made public. Let's take a look at some of the more significant ones and see what's actually happened. Now, despite the United Arab Emirates doing more than $16 billion worth of trade with Iran last year alone, and Saudi Arabia and Bahrain maintaining ties with the Islamic Republic, they demanded that Qatar sever all ties with Iran. What was Doha's response? Well, it decided to return its ambassador to Tehran. He had been recalled a couple of years ago, if you remember, in a show of solidarity with Saudi Arabia, which had withdrawn its envoy after its embassy was stormed following the execution of a senior Shia cleric in Riyadh. The blockading nations have accused Qatar of supporting and financing terrorist organizations. They've demanded Qatar desists. Doha has denied this allegation from the start. It has since signed an agreement with the United States to combat terror financing, and it's asked Saudi Arabia and its allies to present evidence supporting their claims. So far, that hasn't happened. Qatar is not only home to the largest US military base abroad, it also hosts Turkish soldiers as part of a military agreement signed back in 2014. Now, it's not clear why, but the blockading countries have demanded that Qatar expels Turkish troops and halt the establishment of the base. Did Qatar agree to this demand? Quite the opposite. The presence of Turkish army personnel in Qatar has been accelerated as part of what both countries have described as a strategic partnership in combating terrorism and stabilizing the region. One of the more outrageous demands of the blockading country is that Qatar shuts down Al Jazeera. They've accused the network of inciting terrorism and have also demanded that numerous other media outlets be shut down, including some online news sites like Middle East Eye that aren't based in or funded by Qatar. Well, Al Jazeera is still here, and we've been extremely encouraged by the support we've received from other news outlets, as well as rights groups and NGOs the world over. 100 days since this crisis began, and there seems to be no end in sight.